All right, guys, welcome in. We're going to get right into this. I got to say, as unfortunate as this story was, to me, this was a planned attack. Okay. First of all, these people are being trained. Now, again, prayers to the family, but this is what happens when you try to hurt law enforcement. She got in her vehicle. There was a law enforcement officer right there. We're going to show you the video. We're going to show you the clips and everything like that. We're going to show you some of the reactions from law enforcement officials and the local politicians, the spineless politicians of Minnesota. But this is what happened. She got in her car, was given multiple warnings to get out of her car, refused, and then a law enforcement officer was in front and she tries to run him over. And, we obviously know what happens next. So again, as unfortunate as it was, prayers to the family, this is what happens when you try to hurt or kill law enforcement, which is something that she did. So for the fact that you have all these spineless, weak Democrats out there saying that, oh, it was murder, it 100% was not. This is what happens. I blame the Democrats. Let's just be honest. I blame the Democrats because for years and years, especially under the Trump administration, okay, they have been condemning police. They want to defund the police. They want pretty much police to be disbanded and put mental health care workers out there instead of police. People, first of all, the Democrats call them Nazis. They call them racist. They call them Gestapo. Imagine you just putting on your badge, kissing your wife and kids at the start of the morning. When you do that, you don't know if you're going to come home. The law enforcement officers are our hero. They put their lives on the line every single day. And just to get told that you're a Nazi for doing your job. So I 100% blame the Democrats because this is what happens when you have elected officials who are weak, who are trying to get votes. Tell these people, go out in the streets, protest. They're taking your family. They're separating the families. They're doing, first of all, if you're a criminal, you commit a crime in this country, you get separated from your family. I don't know if Democrats know how that works, but again, so we're going to get right into this video. We're going to see the clip. We're going to see the reactions of everything like that. But again, this is the fault of this lady herself. This is not law enforcement's fault. She didn't have to be there. She didn't have to be in a vehicle trying to mow this law enforcement officer down. This was her fault. Again, tragic story, but her fault. So let's just get it right into this video. Let's see the clip. If you haven't seen the clip, we're going to get right into it. We're just going to talk about it.
No! No! Shame! Shame! Oh my God! What the fuck? What the fuck?
Okay, so this gentleman right here was a law enforcement officer, which previously, Christian Noem said that about a year ago, he was in a similar situation. He was actually dragged by a vehicle. So this is how dangerous it is to be a law enforcement officer now. It is extremely dangerous. You are a target. Okay, it's first of all, they're doxing you. They don't want you to wear a mask. The reason why they don't want you to wear a mask is they want to find out where you live. They want to find out who your family is. They want to target your friends. They want to target your family. That's why they don't want you wearing masks. Okay, it's not that we feel more safe. No, it's to put your information online. That's exactly why they have to wear masks. Okay. Secondly, this woman, you see this officer right here, 100% was in the right. Okay, you were asked to step out of your vehicle. You could have stepped out of your vehicle, regardless if you don't think what they asked you to do was right or wrong. You could have stepped out of your vehicle. You didn't. You put the car in drive. You try to run them over, and unfortunately, your life is lost. So again, this is their fault. But we have to stop as those Democrats out there that are condemning law enforcement. What happened? They want tyranny in the streets right now. They are asking these people to protest. They are asking these people to go out and fight law enforcement. And this is what happens. If you are a law enforcement officer, you have the worst job right now because you are not safe. So let's kind of look at some of the things that happen on a day-to-day basis when you're an ICE officer.
Let go! Whoa!
Let's look at this one.
Let go! Let go! Whoa!
Kill someone else! Go for it! Kill someone else!
You are a law enforcement officer trying to do your job, and you have to watch your surroundings because people are going to get in your face. They're going to pull you. You have no idea who these people are. You have no idea if they have weapons. So thank God they're using, non-lethal, pepper spray and rubber bullets and all this stuff. But this is insane that they have to deal with stuff like this. Look at this lady right here.
Oh, get up.
Trying to attack, trying to get into the vehicle, trying to pull law enforcement, trying to push them, trying to impede what they're doing. This is the problem when you have Democrats and you have weak local officials that don't support law enforcement right now. This is 100% the fault of the Democrats. Now, let's look at this weak mayor. Jacob Frey, I swear, has got to be the weakest mayor in all of America right now. In order to get the votes, the Somalian people have taken over Minneapolis. Let's just be honest. Actually, they've probably taken over Minnesota. Not only are they on a police force, they're on a city council. Jacob Frey is dancing to their music, is eating their crappy food, speaking Somalian. What American is going to go out there and speak Somalian and say they're the greatest people in the world and they make our community? No, the American taxpayers of Minnesota make your community great. But let's just see what Jacob Frey has to say about this. By the way, he's calling it a murder. What all the Democrats are saying right now, they're all on the same page calling it a murder when it was 100% self-defense.
Of this ICE presence in Minneapolis. Not only is this a concern that we've had internally, we've been talking about it. They are not here to cause safety in this city. What they are doing is not to provide safety in America. What they are doing is causing chaos and distrust. They're ripping families apart. They're sowing chaos.
Anybody notice how there's always a Somalian right after he has a press conference or when he ever is talking, there's always a Somalian in the background. Kind of curious, huh?
Chaos on our streets. And in this case, quite literally killing people. So they are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bullshit. This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying.
And see, this is the problem that I have. You have a dangerous statement like that when it was clear, obvious. The woman was in her vehicle. The law enforcement officer was in front of the vehicle. She puts it in drive and tries to run him over. The officer defends himself. When he's saying it was murder and there's all this other stuff, this is emboldening the people. So it's very strategic what I think the Democrats are doing right now, because instead of talking about the Minnesota fraud, which, by the way, does anybody find it curious that the same day we have the first House Oversight meeting talking about all the Somali fraud in Minnesota, the same exact day you have this huge story about an officer, killing this woman who tried to kill this officer, and now this is all over the news. Isn't that kind of a coincidence? But whatever. But this is exactly what the Democrats are doing. So now what they're doing is, because of this unfortunate event, they're going to spread this from city to city to city to city to make sure that ICE is not out there arresting people. And if they are, they're going to make sure they find out where they are. And there's like a big protest, a big demonstration. This is very strategic from the Democrats. You have to understand, when this stuff happens, these protesters are paid. These are planned. This is an organization. They have thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people on the streets in a matter of hours after this. This is a planned, very organized event by these Democrats.
Getting killed. As soon as it happened and we learned of the incident, we had several priorities. The first, of course, was to get the victim to the hospital and to get care as soon as possible. And to the family, I'm so deeply sorry. There's nothing that I can say right now that's going to make you or your relatives or the friends of the victim feel any better.
But I'm telling you, it's so weird. Every time this guy talks, there's always a Somalian like watching his every move. We all know that Jacob Frey is paid. He's corrupt. He's working with the Somalians in some type of way, but there's always Somalians in the background anytime he talked. It's so weird.
There were, I believe, 2 Minneapolis police officers that responded and were in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. The second was to get ICE off of the scene. There were dozens, if not hundreds, of ICE and federal officers that were there at the time. Having them there was only causing more chaos. Having them there was only making a difficult situation even more problematic, and one that, yes, they created themselves. There's little I can say, again, that'll make this situation better, but I do have a message for our community, for our city, and I have a message for ICE. to ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind.
Okay, guys, so understand how dangerous of a statement that is. Your top person in the city, Jacob Frey, the mayor of Minneapolis, has literally emboldened these lunatics to say, look, I don't want ICE here. Get the F out of here. What do you think the constituents are going to do now? Because their elected official, the top person, the mayor of Minneapolis, just told ICE to get the F out of here. We don't want you. Telling his lunatic followers, hey, you know what? The mayor doesn't even want him here. The mayor says get the F out of here. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make sure that I bring my crazy ass over there and help get them out of here. So I'm going to protest. I'm going to impede. I'm going to pull. I'm going to push. I'm going to do whatever I can to get them out of here because my top person says to get the F out of here. That is so dangerous. And it's going to get somebody hurt. Some crazy lunatic who's going to try to attack a law enforcement officer because of violent rhetoric like this from the mayor. So let's see. Spineless AOC. What does AOC have to say? Does she agree that this was a attempt where a law enforcement officer was just protecting himself, or is she going along with the Democrats and calling it a murder? Let's just see what AOC has to say.
If the mayor wants ICE out, so does the governor, the senators. What if ICE doesn't leave Minneapolis? What are the implications of that?
Well, first of all, what happened and what we saw today was a horrific act of violence. And, you know, my heart goes out to the victim's family of this. You know, I think what we have now seen and what we are seeing is that ICE is not just becoming an anti-immigrant force in this country, it is becoming an anti-civilian paramilitary organization. People are getting taken off of the streets.
Paramilitary organization. Look how dangerous of words she's saying. This is a congresswoman calling ICE, which, by the way, have a duty to protect American citizens from illegal immigrants, which, by the way, Biden and Kamala opened up the floodgates and allowed tens of millions of illegal immigrants to come over to this country. They're trying to protect American citizens and get them off, and now they are a unhinged organization, according to AOC. That is so dangerous to say, because you're going to have somebody that are going to take up arms now, because now you're calling them a paramilitary organization. You're going to have some crazy Democrat take up arms now against ICE, and it's going to be your fault.
For exercising their free speech rights. The president himself has asserted that, in fact, one of the reasons that this murder may have been, quote unquote, justified is on free speech grounds. So this is now turned into what our greatest fear is and has been for a long time around ICE, that this will be used as an anti-civilian force, that it has no accountability. At the end of the day, what we saw today is a murder. And murders in cold blood need to be prosecuted. And
look what she just said, murders in cold blood. She's acting like ICE is our gang members or the cartel or ISIS. The guy was about to get run over by a vehicle after being multiple times to get out of her car. She says this is a murder, a cold-blooded murder. This is the problem that I have with Democrats. I promise you, this is what's going to happen. Somebody on the left will take up arms and try to attack law enforcement officers. I promise you, this is when you have the mayor telling them to get the F out of Minneapolis, when you have AOC using dangerous rhetoric like this, calling them a paramilitary organization, saying that they killed them in cold blood, I promise you, we have to pray for ICE right now, because when you have rhetoric like this coming from the governor, coming from the mayor, coming from congresswomen, I'm telling you right now, there's going to be a crazy leftist lunatic that says, you know what? I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to take up arms. Next time I see ICE, I'm going to do something. And it's going to be the Democrats' fault. I promise you.
We've seen what happened to this woman I believe it was just a few blocks away from where George Floyd was murdered. And what we need to see is this incident prosecuted. What we saw today was a criminal murder a woman and shoot her in the head while she was trying to escape and flee for her life. And I think what we saw today was a manifestation.
For her life, she was asked to get out of the vehicle. What are you talking about? She was asked to get out of the vehicle multiple times. She put it in drive. There was a law enforcement officer in front of the vehicle, which she tried to run over. What do you mean fleeing for her life? Like she would just, what are you talking about?
Of every American's worst nightmare, which is their government turning into a tyranny.
Do you believe he should be arrested, the officer involved?
I think what we saw was a murder today, and I think that we need, of course.
You said that she was fleeing for her life. Do you know that she was fleeing?
I think we saw this vehicle, and listen, part of a due process is to allow an investigation of what transpired.
You see, thank you for that reporter right there. She literally just said, what are you talking about? You have any evidence to this? You just sounded stupid. And she's like, well, let's just, let the investigation go further, due process. You have no idea what you're talking about. Fleeing. She could have literally just got out of the vehicle, had handcuffs put on her, and been done. But she would have been alive. But she chose not to do that. So again, as tragic as it was, it is her fault.
And what occurred, I think what we saw was a woman trying to reverse her vehicle and leave a scene. Thank you.
And the speaker and some others have said that this was this.
So let's see what Minnesotans have to deal with right now, because ICE are still over there, okay? There's currently protests going on right now in Minneapolis, and there are thousands of people out there. So let's kind of take a look and see what's happening right now in Minnesota. Okay, so clearly law enforcement has their hands full, but I just want everybody to understand what's going on. We better hope that the Democrats do not get in power. The first thing that they will do, one, is they're going to abolish ICE. Two, are they going to open up the border? First of all, everybody calls Biden stupid, calls Kamala stupid. It was a strategic move to allow the border to be open. Why? Because they've already secured the black vote. Black people have been voting Democrat for 50 plus years, right? And not getting anything from it. So they've already secured that. So now they needed a new voter base. That's why they had the illegal immigrants come into the country, give them all the health care and all the housing and all the food and the clothing and all this other stuff. Because if you're an illegal immigrant, who are you most likely going to vote for? You're most likely going to vote Democrat because they're going to take care of you. So that is why when Donald Trump shut down the border and getting all these people out of here, that's why they're so mad. It's not because they want to protect the citizens. They don't care about the citizens, or they would have never let the borders open. They care about their voter base. That is why they have allowed most Democratic cities. They don't want voter ID. They say voter ID is racist. What? Since when did going to the DMV become hard? Is it annoying? Sure. Is it a long wait time? Absolutely. But it's not hard. It's racist now to require somebody to have an ID. But this is what the Democrats are doing. I guarantee if we don't fight for 2026 and 2028 and Gavin Newsom gets elected in 28, I promise you the borders will be open again. You're going to have all these people from Pakistan and Iran and Iraq and Afghanistan, Somalia, all these people coming over, flooding our country that don't believe in Christianity, that believe in Islam, because now you see what happens in New York. You see the mosque and you see the Islamic prayer in Brooklyn now. Over the loudspeakers. You hear the Islamic prayer in Minneapolis now on loudspeakers. This stuff is going to affect the entire country. This is why we, as Americans, need to say, look, we have no problem with legal immigration, but we want to make sure that you're just not coming over to our country and bringing your Sharia law over here. We want to make sure that you're not, bringing your cartel organization over here. So we want to make sure we vet you, we talk to you, we see what your morals are, what your value. We want to make sure that you are vetted before you're in with a law-abiding citizen and can potentially hurt them. The Democrats do not care. They care about staying in power. That is why they want illegal immigrants out here. And after that attack yesterday, They are going to be so emboldened now that this stuff is going to spread. If ICE is around, let's just say Chicago or LA or wherever they go next, they're going to have protests. They're going to have thousands of people on the street trying to dox these people. That's why they don't want them wearing masks, because they want to find out who they are, where they live, what their family does, where their kids go to school. They're going to put all their information on to get these people to quit. Because imagine, again, you're a hero. You're a law enforcement officer trying to protect and serve. You know, the last time you kiss your wife or your kids could be the last time when you step out that door. You never know if it's your last time. That is why it's such a difficult job being a law enforcement officer. But yet these Democrats are going to call you a racist. They're going to call you Gestapo. They're going to call you a paramilitary organization. They're going to call you all these names to, guess what? Eventually, you're just going to be like, you know what? I quit. I quit. That's what they want. They want tyranny in the streets. They don't care about protecting citizens. If they do, they would support. They don't care. They want a voter base. Why do you think Jacob Frey, the mayor of Minneapolis, is speaking Somalian? What other American mayor speaks Somalian? Who would speak that crap? Who would over there dance to their music, eat their food? He's clearly corrupt. But how coincidental is it that the same day we have a House oversight meeting about the fraud, we have somebody get killed? We have a woman attempting to kill a law enforcement officer in her vehicle. How coincidental is that? So, this is very concerning for our country. And, I think the Democrats are obviously going to use that. We're not even talking about the fraud. Now, yesterday we were talking about the fraud. Now it's like the fraud is like, who cares? Now we're talking about the ICE and they're doing all this stuff and they're killing us in the streets. This is what the Democrats wanted. And behind closed door, I promise you, they are celebrating because they had no justification. Before ICE come to your city, you can send your people out there, but they were arresting illegal immigrants. Now that this lady unfortunately lost her life, they're going to use that on every single news cycle, CNN, ABC, NBC, MSNBC. They're going to use it all the time now. So we have to make sure our law enforcement officers are safe and protected. Prayers go out to them because their job right now, they are a target. If you are a law enforcement officer, if you are ICE, good luck. These Democrats are coming after you. They're coming after you hard. They have no problem attacking you. They have no problem, trying to pull your mask off or something like that to try to, have someone take a picture of your face or something like that. These Democrats, these lunatics are crazy. And it starts because the top elected officials do not care. They don't care about law enforcement. They care about staying in power. And if the only way they can stay in power is flooding America with illegal immigrants so they can vote for them, that's what they're going to do. And that's why they hate ICE, because they're taking their power away. So we'll see what happens in the next coming weeks. We'll see how this whole thing plays out. I'm sure the officer is probably going to be, suspended pending investigation or whatever. But to me, I think he was justified. He was protecting himself. But, we'll see how this whole thing plays out. So let's pray for our law enforcement guys. I appreciate it. Remember, like, comment, subscribe.